everybody. Happy Thursday. This is Crafting Journey and that Journey Chick on Instagram. It is storming outside. I just texted my boss and said, I'll be there when the weather passes because our parking is not close to the building where I work in, the hospital. So we're just going to wait before we go into work. And I'll just sit here and chit-chat with you guys and bring you the morning show with Crafting Journey. Hey guys, only a few more days to sign up for the Crafters 90-Day Step Challenge. And I forgot to put the link in the description yesterday. I apologize. When I get to work, my mind goes other places, understandably. So I will try to put that link down in the description today. If I forget, it is always, you can go join the Crafting Journey Facebook group. It is pinned to the top of the, the feed. You can find it there. And the Mystery Diamond Painting, that sign up ends soon as well. And you can find that, frog in my throat, in the Crafting Journey Facebook group under announcements, the announcements tab. And that's all I have to say about that. There you go. That is the commercial portion of the show. What symbol am I doing? Okay, I got it. I figured it out. So, oh boy, all of a sudden I got a scratchy throat. No, I am not sick. I am perfectly fine. I will just drink a cup of coffee. There, see, it's gone. Yes, I am still working on Alice Lost, but I am getting there. And I will be honest with you, I did not work on it yesterday. I got home from work. Had to rush around, do the live. Last night was, I'm collaborating with Marissa McCartney, the Crafty Heifer, and on the temperature blanket. And so every other month we switch channels. So this month it was her turn. So if you want to catch the replay, go to the Crafty Heifer and you will see the replay on the temperature blanket. And if you are working on a temperature blanket, please do not feel bad if you are behind, because I am 2 months behind on both of my blankets. But I intend to catch up, and I intend to encourage you to catch up. And please post a picture in the Facebook group of your progress or lack thereof. No judgment here, trust me. So, what national day is it? It is national, this is a good one, Grape Popsicle Day. Yes. Who knew? So in 1905, this 11-year-old boy, he's playing it in the front yard on his porch. He's mixing water with a white powdered flavoring to make soda. And I guess he gets called inside and he forgets about it, and he leaves it overnight. And it freezes, and he gets out there the next morning and he's like, oh, look, this tastes good. So when he grows up and he becomes an adult, he makes them, he takes them to this firehouse, and they loved them. What happened was he left a little stick in the mixture when he was playing around on the front porch. So, and his name was Frank Epperson. So he decides he's going to patent this and call it the Epsicle Pop, and later on he turned the name to Popsicle. And I bet you had no idea the invention of a popsicle, and now you do. So how do you celebrate? Find yourself a great popsicle. Popsicles are wonderful in the summertime. Not so wonderful when it's storming outside, but summer's approaching. Put some in the freezer. If you've got young children, put some in the freezer. When my kids were young, I always had some in the freezer. When they would have friends over, I'd just give them all a popsicle, and they would keep their mouths shut for at least 20 minutes. Yeah, give or take. So, National Grape Popsicle Popsicle Day. Who knew there was a national day to celebrate that? So, do, 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 do. And yes, Yvonne, you can sing along with me. Do, 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 do. Yep. So, okay, let's talk about judge, jury, and journey. Because yesterday was an incredible day. Like, I am so glad I picked this trial to cover because I have never seen anything like this in the history of covering trials. Well, I haven't been covering trials that long, but I've just never said. I mean, I was a lawyer. I've never seen anything like this. So let me just get right into it. Totally unexpected, but just wow. Now, I totally expected that the day would proceed, the defense would come in, they would say, we're done, closing arguments, jury goes out, comes back with a guilty verdict. Well, I'm not so sure now because, holy moly. Defense starts out the day by putting Officer Brandon Bublitz, Bublitz, in Iowa. He's with the Iowa Department of Criminal Investigations. They put him on the stand. He was instructed to go out, by the case agent, go out to this residence and take buccal swads from this person that lived at that residence. Well, there was nobody home. And it turns out this was the residence of the guy that lived in the house that was very close to where the body was found. So he was never able to make contact with that guy, so he never got a buccal swab from him. So that was his testimony. And then they put on Matt George, another Iowa Department of Criminal Investigations agent. He testified that he put together a victim profile, which he called a victimology. He just wanted to find out who was in this woman's inner circle to help them develop leads. And he did interview Dalton Jack a couple of times. So they asked him, why did you go back and interview him the second time? He goes, well, I found out some new information. I wanted to talk to him. Well, what was that information? It was, apparently during the first interview, he was not upfront about having this affair with Jordan Lamb. So he brings him back in for a second interview where he spills the beans. Yes, I was having an affair with Jordan Lamb, but Mollie knew about it. Oh, okay. And she forgave me. All right. Then they bring in Jordan Lamb takes the stand. Now, she's no great beauty. She's a cute girl, but she's married now. She has a child. Wasn't thrilled to be there. She was subpoenaed to be there. So not entirely cooperative, but she was on the stand for a very short period of time. She just said, yes, I had a relationship with Dalton Jack. She said she broke it off. He kept texting her and she just ignored it. So that was the end of that. So that's it. Then next, the defendant gets called. Next witness, Christian Bahama Riviera. I'm like, my mouth you could have picked up my jaw off the floor. It is very seldom that the defendant takes the stand. Well, except I guess in the cases I cover, because that seems to be the trend lately. So Christian Bahama Riviera takes the stand, and he's with the use of an interpreter. So this is it goes very slowly, which is good because I wrote down pretty much word for word what he said because I was floored. When you hear what he testified to, I was just, what? Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, he talks about how his father is a laborer down in Mexico. His father makes as a laborer the equivalent is 1,500 pesos every paycheck, which is the equivalent of $75 every paycheck. Can you imagine? Oh my God. So he was sending home money to his parents, but so they could build a house. But he said he attended school in Mexico. He graduated, and once he graduated, he paid a coyote to bring him into this country. He came with 9 other people that came on a raft. I guess they crossed the border into Texas. He said he spent the night in a hotel in Houston, but then he ends up in Iowa with some relatives there, and they agree to take him in. Then he ends up working at the Yarrabee Farms. They hired him without documents, but said, once you get documents, bring them to us. So he brought them documents of a guy named John Budd. So he then became John Budd. But he said they would pay him in cash, so it really was not a big deal for him. And he would make $1,500 to $1,600 per paycheck and send about $800 each month home to his parents. And they said, well, how did you do that? And he's like, oh, you go to the Mexico store. So I guess there's a store that specializes in getting money into Mexico. He said that he had no criminal history, none. Never had any problems with the police because he didn't want to get deported. And he admitted, yes, Mollie was in the trunk of my car. And then he says, but during the interrogation or the interview, the 11-hour interview, he says, I did not tell the police everything. Yes, she was in the trunk of my car, but I was not forthright. I didn't tell him everything that occurred. So this day, I think it was July 18th, he goes to work, gets off work, comes home, he gets off work. He wanted to clean out his car because he had a date the next day. So he goes to his uncle's house to pick up a vacuum. Well, his uncle's not home, so obviously no one to corroborate that story. His uncle's not home, but he goes ahead and he borrows the vacuum and texts his uncle, telling his uncle that, I borrowed the vacuum. Of course, we didn't see the text of where he borrowed the vacuum. So he goes back home, and then he realizes when he gets home that the sun is out and it's too hot to clean the car right now. So he goes in to take a shower. Now, when he comes out of the shower and out of the bathroom, there are 2 men in his living room. And this is his description, they're wearing sweaters and stocking caps. So he doesn't know who they are. One has a gun, one has a knife. You could have picked me up off the floor when I heard this. I'm like, what? What in the, what? Yes. So I'm like, you can't make this stuff up, guys. Well, he can, but anyway. So they say to him, don't do anything stupid. Everything's going to be okay. Don't do anything stupid. He said they were there for a while, whispering to each other. Then they finally say, let's get in the car. So they get in his car. He's driving. The guy that has the knife is in the passenger seat, and he's like the shorter one. Then there's the guy in the back seat with the gun. And he says they waved the gun at him once or twice. They did threaten him with the gun. And so one of the things his attorney asked him was, like, you don't speak English, so how were you able to understand what they were communicating to you? And he says, well, I have the basics. They told me to drive straight. So he drives straight. He said they said something to each other about someone running. So they drove down 385th and they saw a person jogging. And he says now that he knows who Mollie is, he says, yes, this was Mollie jogging. So they passed her, they head into town, and then the guys say, turn the vehicle around. So he turns around, they go back in the other direction, pass her again. The guys say, turn around. So he turns around, and then they say, pull off the road. So now they're pulled off the road, and Mollie is jogging in, toward them. He can't see Mollie. They get out of the car. One of them gets out of the car. The guy with the gun stays in the car. The guy with the knife gets out of the car and starts heading down the road toward the runner. But he can't see any of this. And he says the guy's gone for like 10 or 15 minutes. He says, meanwhile, the guy in the back seat is mumbling to himself and says, come on, Jack. Come on, Jack. Oh, my God. Now, remember, Dalton Jack is the ex-boyfriend. So the guy with the knife comes back to the car and says, all right, keep driving. He says they drove about 300 meters and he stopped and they took his keys, got out of the car, opened the trunk, and he heard something go into the trunk. They get back in the car and they tell him to go back to where the gravel road is, because there was an intersection that they had passed where it intersects with the gravel road. They say, go back to the gravel road, drive down the gravel road. So they continue driving down this gravel road until, this is such a weird story, 8 minutes. He said he was going really fast. And they arrived in front of this big white house. So then they put up an exhibit that shows the entrance to the cornfield. And when you see this picture with the entrance to the cornfield, off in the distance you see this big, huge white house. So he said, yes, that is the house where we went. But he said, we just went into that driveway and then they asked me to turn around. So he turns around and then they ask him to stop and pull into the cornfield. So he pulls into the cornfield. They take his keys and his phone. They get out of the vehicle and he never sees them again. He says they disappear. They just disappear. So now I'm thinking, what? He has no keys. He has no phone. So now he remembers they put something in the trunk. So he opens the trunk. He finds the body of Mollie Tibbitts. What's going on? So he finds the body of Mollie Tibbitts in his trunk. But he also finds her Fitbit, her cell phone, her earbuds, his phone, his keys. So he's got it all. But he's like, I got to get rid of this body. So he picks up the body, puts it into the cornfield, covers the body with corn stalks, says that she was fully clothed, but she had one sneaker off. Now, we know from seeing pictures of the body that were taken by the crime scene investigators that both of her sneakers were on her feet, and she was not fully clothed. There were as you recall, there was underwear, shorts found apart from the body. So I don't know if he's trying to say that they came back and took her clothes off and then put her shoe back on. I don't know. But he covers her up with corn stalks, gets in his car, uses his phone to figure out how to get back home. Honest to God, this is the wildest story I have ever heard. I mean, people in the courtroom were like looking at each other, just shaking their head. What? Trying not to react, because you can't react in front of the jury. But like, the defense attorney was so pissed off. You could tell he was really, really pissed off. So that this story just came out of nowhere. So he said that the men had told him, do not talk about what happened because we know your girlfriend and we know your daughter. And they mentioned them by name. And he says, if you talk about this, we're going to take care of them. So he was afraid. He didn't call the police because he was afraid they were going to harm his daughter and his ex-girlfriend. So I'm just looking to see what else he said. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, he didn't call the police because he was scared. And then he took Mollie's Mollie's Fitbit, phone, and headphones and just left them on the side of the road. Now we know that it took them a month to find this body, and there was a tornado that passed in the meantime, so God knows what happened to that stuff. So during the interrogation, he said, I just told them what they wanted to hear. And he said it was suggested to him that, by the interrogators, hey, some people can be really sick in the mind and they can black out sometimes. Do you think that's what happened to you? So he's like, yeah, that's what happened to me. But no, that's not what really happened. And he said he would have gone to his grave. He would never have told this story to anyone because he didn't want his daughter to be harmed. But he agreed that he would take them to the body. So, because he wanted the interview to stop. He says, I was tired. I just wanted it to stop. So I said, listen, let me take you to the body. So he takes them to the body. But here's how he did it. He's like, take me to my house because I know how to get there from my house. He didn't know how to get there from the police station. So they take him to his trailer, which is at the Yerby Farms location. They take him there, and then he gives them turn-by-turn directions in the dark to the body. And the prosecutor on cross-examination, he's like, so you're telling me these guys, like, just disappeared, like, vanished, poof. And he's like, yeah, just disappeared. And you've never seen them again or heard from them again. Nope. And you didn't recognize them through all the witnesses that come in the court. You didn't recognize them. You never recognized them. Nope. Don't know who they are. Was it Dalton Jack? Nope. I don't know. Yeah. What? The prosecutor is just shaking his head. Yeah. So then the next witness is Jamie Slife. Now, she is the daughter of the guy that lives in this house that was located near where the body was. And she is the one that called in the tips to the, she said she called 2 tips into the hotline because she knows she has a very poor relationship with her father because she was sexually abused by him as a child. And she says that, he has a history of being abusive to women. And so she wanted, especially when she heard that Mollie was jogging in the area of her father's home, she wanted them to know that, her father had this history. And then when they didn't get back to her or give her any feedback, she calls the sheriff's office and says, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she never gets any feedback. But then on cross-examination, the prosecutor brought out that her father is 6'7", and so, which leads me to believe that if he was one of the masked men, the defendant would have mentioned that this guy was particularly tall, and he didn't. So, people at work are texting me. They make fun of me because I told them I will come to work when the severe weather passes, and they're like, severe weather? See, these people in Kansas, this is normal to them. They're like, what severe weather? This is normal. I'm like, all right, I'm coming to work, guys. So so the defense has thrown everything against the wall, hoping something will stick with the jury. So all that takes is for one jury to buy into this cockamamie story and and say that they have reasonable doubt. And then he will be found not guilty. But it explains why they never found the knife. It explains, I don't know, it's just bizarre. And I want a description of these sweaters, like ugly Christmas sweaters. What kind of sweaters were these? Like, what? Yeah. he couldn't describe them adequately. Um, yeah. So, um, so it either really happened or this guy is just really, really clever. Or his attorneys are really, really clever. But I can't imagine an attorney, um, an ethical attorney, allowing their client to get on the stand and lie. So this has got to be what he's been telling them all along. And certainly explains a lot of, because during the prosecution's testimony on the cross-examination, I kept saying, where are they going with this? Where are they going with this? Well, this is where they were going. The two masked men who disappear, poof, and I never heard from again. Anyway, uh, yeah, okay. Let's do. So yes, the defense has now rested their case. It's over. Um, so this morning we will have closing arguments, and it will go to a jury today. Now, I am at work today. If the jury comes back, it'll be later this afternoon, this evening. If they come back, I will go live with the verdict for you guys. Hopefully it's not tomorrow while I'm working. If it is, I'll sneak off with my phone. I don't know if I'll be able to bring it to you live. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it while I'm at work. Sorry. That's just the way it is. I do have my computer with me, but it would be kind of awkward. I guess I could, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. I mean, I could take a break, take my computer and go bring it to you live. We'll see. We'll just see how it shakes out. Anyway, okay. This day in history. Oh my God, this is a really good one, guys. This murder suspect. Yes, we're staying with crime today. In May 27th, 2005, Carl Edward Rowland, he's 41 years old. He's wanted by the police for killing, he's murdered his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Gonzalez. They find her in a retention pond, and they can't find him. He never comes home, so they put out a warrant for him. Well, he goes to, where did he go to? Oh, Atlanta. He goes to an Atlanta construction site and climbs up this crane, one of those huge cranes that, where they build these big, tall buildings, climbs up, takes the elevator to the top and refuses to come down. He's up there for 3 days. No food, no water, and he's not coming down. I'm not coming down. And they try to talk him down, They offer him food, they offer him water. They rig this thing to go near him to make like a horn just to annoy him and to keep him from falling asleep because they were afraid he would fall off the crane if he fell asleep. So they put this horn up to just blast him continuously. He disassembles the horn. And so on the third day, he finally says, yes, I would like some water. So they bring him up some water. When they offer him the water, they tase him. And they were able to get him into custody once he was tased. He was later tried and convicted of murder. But how bizarre is that? This has just been a bizarre day, right? He was on the crane for 3 days, and then he gets extradited back to Florida where he committed the murder. Yes, in Florida. Pinellas County, Florida, in Clearwater, which is a very interesting town. That's where the Clearwater is, where they have a lot of, what are those people? That religion. Latter-day Saints. The one that Tom Cruise is into. I don't know. Yeah. yeah, they kind of went and took over that town. Anyway, that's where he was from, or where the murder was committed. Anyway. Okay, I gotta go to work. The weather seems to have let up a little bit. My coworkers are so funny. They're like, snow, wind, rain, hail. That's normal. Just go to work. I'm like, okay. They laugh at me. Last night in Marissa's live, she was telling me how to be prepared for a tornado. Like that I should have this little grab bag. All very good advice. Stuff I had never even considered, like to put together, like a spare, some, a change of clothes, some shoes that I can put on real quick, some water, yeah, stuff that I'm going to need in case of a tornado, which I had never thought of. I mean, great idea. So I need to put that together and put it into my safe room, or actually she said put it next to your bed. And then also make sure you know where your animals hide, because if there's a storm or even a fire, that's where they'll find them. Like Jake hides under my bed. And I have a king size bed. I cannot get him out. When he's under that bed, forget it. Years ago, I had a girl that would come over. I paid her because I had surgery on my hand. And I paid this girl, she was like 13. I paid her and she would come over and walk Jake and Tootsie. And she would have to crawl under the bed to get Jake because he knew she was coming, and he hates going for walks. So he would crawl under the bed. So she'd crawl under there and go get him. I miss that little girl. She was so funny. She loved the dogs. Anyway, guys, it's Thursday. Have a wonderful day. I love you all. Looking forward to the closing arguments. And what's going on tonight? Yeah, Wolfpack is supposed to be live tonight. I know she's had a lot going on in her life, and she may not be live. But in any case, take care. Maybe I'll see you at Animal Crossing. Bye.